In this videocast, Michael Hamelin, Chief Security Architect of Tufin Technologies, a corporation which focuses on the correct configuration and management of firewalls, will discuss the various vendor offerings available today.
It's actually interesting. Some of the firewall vendors have taken very different directions in how they're going to process packets. No more are we looking at just the basic ACL designs 10 years ago we saw for routers and switches, right? We have Palo Alto Networks doing very deep application processing of packets, application inside of the protocol. So in other words, it's not just HTTP and it's not just going to Google, but it's a Google Doc and it's a Google Doc spreadsheet. You can write a rule around users. You can use spreadsheets versus documents versus Google Chat.
And I understand that, for example, if a corporation wants to allow a Facebook, for example, within their environment, that they can say, okay, we'll allow these Facebook applications, but not these other untrusted Facebook applications.
Correct. So you can kind of whitelist and blacklist at the application level inside of the website you're looking at. It's one of their techniques. And the other vendors, you see lots of other different integrations. It seems like each of the vendors are starting to find their own direction where they're going to focus.
So tell me about the Fortinet offering.
So Fortinet has scaled up their product, and they've scaled across having, they now have central management servers, lots of different features. One of the unique things our customers like that they tell me about is they can add their application profiles on a rule. So if they want to add deep inspection, they can actually write a rule for which part of their network they want deep inspection. So instead of doing deep inspection of web traffic on all their networks, they can do it just for the untrusted user segments.
So can you give us an example of this deep inspection?
Sure. So like they can do, when they do their SQL protections, instead of having to apply that to the whole rule base to look for attacks on a website or look for attacks that would be attacking users' browsers, they can you can specifically carve out your rule base so that most of your traffic that doesn't need that protection can pass ahead of that rule.
For example?
You can write a rule that lets all of your DMZ traffic that doesn't have web services come in first, and then write a rule to your services that would have SQL databases behind them and apply that profile for SQL protection to that rule, which balances the performance versus protection aspect of every firewall.
What about the leaders? How are they doing, do you think? You know, the WatchGuards and the Cisco's?
Right. See, I think the three leaders are still Cisco, Juniper, and Checkpoint, of course, right?
Okay, yeah.
And Checkpoint released their new Blade architecture this year, which allows you to pick and modularize the software, so the different types of enforcement. They added IPS and DLP, so intrusion prevention and data leakage protection, into the firewall suite. More of the advanced UTM function in the enterprise firewall, and you can pick and match those features into your Blade licensing scheme. So
and give them more money.
Right, of course. Everything's about generating more revenue, right? So we're going to buy more modules. We have that ability to work in that Blade architecture now in the Checkpoint world, and they bought an application profiling company that they've added to their suite so they can start doing application identification and inspection like the Palo Alto firewalls. The Juniper team has consolidated their routing, switching, and firewall platform. Originally, most of the Juniper firewalls came from the NetScreen acquisition years ago, and they've consolidated from that operating system to their Juno OS, which runs their routers and switches to try and now they're building their unified appliances, which is giving them synergy in their development teams.
Does that mean that if I'm in a Juniper house, then that these things can communicate better with each other? So my Juniper firewall can communicate with, say, my Juniper switches. I think there's a new network protocol which allows them to do that. So if they detect something that's wrong, they instantly block the switches as well. Yeah,
they're working on more of an ecosystem within their platform so that they can do cooperative enforcement, I think was one of the terms that it was described as. That also is giving them the synergy in their staff, where you're no longer going to have to learn different operating systems to do different platforms. You'll have one set of commands that will work across across your platform. So your firewall, router, and switch commands are going to be unified into one set now.
I think they were working with an Nmap protocol. I don't know if you know anything about Nmap. But
I don't know that.
yeah. And how is Cisco doing?
Cisco's had a suite of security products over the years, right? They've been phasing out the PICs for the ASA, and in their switches they run blades and the firewall switch modules. I think they're the largest switch and routing vendor still by market share, but in the security space,
I guess
it
it must
hasn't
be
changed much.
Yeah, it must be hard being one of the largest players, because you've got all these smaller companies with their innovations nipping at your heels and threatening to take 5% of your market share, 10%.
And smaller companies also always have that ability to be much more nimble and react to customers. Cisco's a very large company with one of the other ones is as you get larger, you have legacy equipment and you have lots of customers on legacy equipment. You can't just cut those out of your config design, so you end up having to build larger software products to support the legacy and the new.
And WatchGuard, you haven't mentioned WatchGuard.
I don't know as much about WatchGuard.
Yeah, because
to be
they
honest.
took some market share from Cisco just because they put the GUI on configuring their firewalls.
I have seen them more at the shows, and it's one of the companies we don't support yet, so I haven't done as much research on them, though I've talked to several of the WatchGuard people, and they keep coming by talking to us. It'd be interesting to see. I think like Fortinet, I think they're coming out of that SMB market and into the enterprise market in a hurry.
When you say SMB?
It's the small, mid-sized business.
All right.
So I think SME.
Yes, in the UK we call them small, medium enterprises,
Right.
SMEs. So SMB, small, medium business. Okay.
So yeah, SMB, SME.
As opposed to server message blocks, of course.
Right, not server message blocks. Same language, but we speak it different on both sides of the ocean, right?
Sure. So if you were to put money on it, who do you think this year's firewall is going to, or company is going to make double or triple in size, or have the most growth?
Wow, it's probably hard, but I think this year will be the year Palo Alto will make large gains in the market. They've added a lot to their product and gotten a lot of traction. So as the young player, they'll definitely make a lot of press this year in their growth.
Michael, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Ben.